Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Pointe Pitre Airport on Guadeloupe. We are once again in the beautiful Britain Norman Islander from Blackbox Simulations V2. And it should be a fun flight because there is some weather in the area. We're going back down to Douglas Charles, aka Melville Hall. External power supply on, rotating beacon on. Mixtures and props, full forward, master and battery switches on, fuel pumps on, magnetos on. Let's get all of our stuff out of the way here. Crack the throttles. Left propeller area is clear. Good start. Oil pressure is good. Right propeller is clear. Nobody to kill or maim. Good start. Oil pressure is good. Some lean mixtures for taxi. Turn the fuel pumps off. Close that. The fuel pressures are looking good. Avionics masters coming on. Alright, let's get over here and get on 122.8 so that we may communicate with our fellow aviators. CDI coming over to GPS. Altimeter is 1014. That's looking good. Nav and strobe lights coming on. Taxi light coming on. Let's get our charts out here. We may well need them today. Yes, I would. Thank you. Just like to see. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. On-nav departures one way. What do you suppose that looks like? Kind of looks like that, right? For our departure. And let's have a look here at yeah, the Dom1F departure, looking good. RNAV 27 because there is no such thing as a 09 approach. Alright, runway, this is the Dom. Okay. We'll approach my departure Dom1F here, it looks like. Departures. Doesn't appear to be any one of those, does it? Standards departure. Dom1F, there we go. Let's put this in there, remove that. Alright, the Dom1F departure, what is this here? Give me a hand. That Hadlow, turn right to like below me, the Hadlow, turn right direct to the lobby, and then to the... Okay. Works for me. Now let's go to the airport. Yeah, I noticed that the other day. I can't connect. That's alright. Alright, let's engage the brakes. I can always tell somebody who is flying a plane that somebody else is buying the gas, because they just they just sit there. Alright, we're moving. Let's test the brakes. Because if you're paying for the gas, you make sure you do all this stuff before you get going. If somebody else is paying for the gas, it's like, big deal. People say, people talk about what the biggest difference is between flight simulation and real flying. In flight simulation, you don't stare at the the tack or the hobs all the time. In real aviation, you do. Point of P-tray traffic, equal to 264, taxiing to runway 12 via taxiway Foxtrot. Point of P-tray. I hope I'm taxiing via Foxtrot. Yeah, look at that. Alright. Idle. Something my instructor would always tell me is don't taxi too quickly, because you just shouldn't do that. So it looks like this is gonna have me do like a circle here. So I'll just follow whatever this kind of looks like. It's giving me this, and then probably because it doesn't know how to get back to Hadlow. That's all right. Are there any climb? Yeah, ground speed. Climb gradient of 9.2 to 10,000 to 400 feet. 7,000. We don't need that. We ain't going to 7,000. Alright. So, I'm comfortable. We're going to be VMC anyway, I'm pretty sure. Once we get up above these clouds. So, notch of takeoff flaps coming in. Fuel pumps on. Put a little extra fuel in the plane this time, just in case we need to divert. Alright, taxi light, the landing light is on. I do not see any traffic on the GPS. Mixtures and props are full forward. Point of P-tray traffic, Anguilla 264, taking runway 12 at taxiway Foxtrot for departure to the south. Point of P-tray. Make sure there's no traffic out here in the runway before we start doing anything. Alright, runway looks clear. And I'm just gonna follow what the GPS wants me to do here. Alright, heading indicator checks with the runway number. There's a vehicle on the runway, which isn't too surprising. Alright, takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed is alive. 70 knots. Rotate. And they didn't want me to climb like a homesick angel until I get to 400 feet. I can do that. Alright. Let's drop the flaps. Oh, whoops. One thing you never want to hear your pilot say is whoops. We're pitch for 90 knots here in the 5. Alright, that's the one thing you never want to hear your pilot say is whoops. Alright, fuel pump's coming off. 1,000 feet AGL, fuel pressures are looking just fine. Come back to about 25 squared. I am IFR, so we're going to obey the rules here. Do what they want us to do. And you fly runway heading. Now if you notice, I am well off to the right hand side here of the runway. That means the wind is blowing this way. I am on runway heading, which is 120. Pressure rather needs to come up a little as well. Alright, let's see here. Already climbing through 4,000 feet. So it looks like the departure is saying one thing. It's saying direct hard low, but it's cleared me clearly to the PTP VOR. So what we're going to do here is level off at 5,000 feet. Focus on flying the airplane right now rather than looking at charts. This is kind of where the GNS doesn't really cut the mustard here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's pretty poor, to be honest. So what I'm going to do now, rather than continuing to fly out into the middle of nowhere, basically cross over top of the field at where they're pretty much asking me to on this GNS display, and then we will proceed southbound. So lean to the mixtures here. Just a little bit until we drop about 50 RPM. And that way we'll be 50 degrees rich of peak, which is about where we want to be. In all of the all of the engines, these piston engines, you're pretty safe being 50 degrees rich of peak. A lot of people argue lean of peak, a lot of people argue rich of peak. Guess what? There are plenty of people who can tell you why lean of peak is a bad idea. There's not a lot of people that'll tell you why rich of peak is a bad idea. So back into the clouds here. I like hand flying IFR too. Like, I'm not gonna. I'm not going to use the autopilot even on an IFR flight. In this airplane. We want direct to the lobby right now. Which isn't even one of our choices. So clearly this thing is not even capable of getting us. I'd be happy direct adver at this point. You can see adver is an initial approach fix. It'll bring us down here into the hold and around we go. So I'd be pretty happy with that right now. Alright, so let's try this again. Okay, heading on 161 direct adver. So, let's brief this approach, assuming we're going to fly it, because there's a decent chance we are going to fly it. Alright. Hand flying and briefing approach is not that easy. Alright, so raise at approach 121.3, Martinique approach 121.0, tower 18.9. Just gonna set this right now. RNM approach, final approach course 265. Glide slope intercept is carrot at 1,700 feet. LNAV decision altitude is 900 feet. That's 884 feet above sea level. So that's a pretty high minimum. So basically at 1,000 feet, we really got to be able to see the field. Otherwise, we ain't getting in there. Airport elevation is 90 feet. Runway elevation is 16 feet. That tells you there's a good slope somewhere on the airfield. Missed approach, climbing right turn to 1,700 feet, direct to Gold Lab and hold. Cool dudes. Altimeter, let's see, runway elevation. Transition level, good on that because we're below the transition altitude anyway. Alright, while circling north of the runway and let down runway 9er, visual contact with the runway will be obscured by a ridge line from the point of passing a beam to threshold runway 9er. So completed the turn based on final, which is normally made over a recognizable field of coconut trees. Cool. It's like the aviation equivalent of turn right at the big oak tree. Alright, so we're direct to Adver right now. We've got 11.5 minutes until we get to Adver. Once we get to Adver, come down to 1700, heading on 175. This is what I'm looking at right here. 1700 feet, heading of 175. For 6 nautical miles. You can see that all that fun stuff is right here. And Volab 1700, maintain that on the way into Carrot. Carrot's glide slope intercept at 1700 feet. Let's have a look down here. Going to be going right over the airport here, Marie Gallant. Alright, there's Volab. We're going to be turning in, heading 265. 5.1 nautical miles to Carrot at 1700 feet. 3-degree glide slope. That's your visual descent point, which is 2.6 nautical miles, 1.7 plus 0.9, 2.6 nautical miles from, oh, they already put that right there. Look at that. Jepson is so nice. They really do an awesome job with charts. It's kind of what they do, right? So the visual descent point is 2.6 miles from the runway threshold, and what the visual descent point means is that that's the point at which you have to have the runway in sight and begin your visual 3-degree descent to the runway in order to make a normal landing. In other words, you don't have to do any maneuvering, don't have to push the nose over, don't have to do any excessive descending. Our ground speed is probably going to be a little bit higher than normal today because we will be landing with a tailwind. See the island right over there? We will be landing with a tailwind. If we wind up doing 2.7, which I bet we're going to do. I bet we will have to do. Alright, so glide slope 3 degrees, so somewhere around probably 400 to 450 feet a minute is what we're going to need to be doing. One thing I have not done because I'm too busy running my valve is turn on the pitot heat. You don't want a pilot that talks too much either. Airport here. That's the airport right there. there's alive today. See the island over here. I highly doubt we're going to have the type of visibility that we're going to want to try and make that runway 9er approach, so let's not get too excited here. So that being the case, again, I'm just going to assume there's Maricoland Airport. I am just going to assume that we're going to be flying this RNAV approach. Not super keen on flying this approach because really not familiar with the SU10 as an IFR tool, and you really want to be, you really want to be familiar with the tools that you're using, particularly for IFR, especially for IFR. Alright, let's see. Carb temps are good. Suction's good in the gyro. Fuel pressure, oil pressure, everything looking good. Fuel's looking good, amps and volts are looking good. Let's see if we can get a METAR. Alright. Altimeter 1015. Winds are 110 at at 10. Visibility 6 miles or more. Scattered clouds of 1,700 feet. Ceiling 12,000. I'm not buying that at all. You see, as a 1015. Here's the good one, right? Temperature 30, dew point 27, temperature 30. So that's a 3-degree difference in the spread between the temperature and the dew point. And what does that tell you? Anytime the dew point and the temperature, the difference between the two, anytime that is less than 5 degrees Celsius, you can expect clouds or fog or both. So when that tells me scattered clouds at 17 and a ceiling at 12, at least 12,000, which is generally speaking clear, you know, I'm already a little skeptical because I can see over there, kind of what looks like clouds. But when I see the temperature dew point spread of 3 degrees, I know to be very skeptical of that weather report. And these are the little things. These are the little things that keep you alive as an instrument pilot. And keep you from being surprised. So, you know, if you don't really know much about weather and instrument flying, or if you're just not really paying that much attention, and you see, hey, scattered 1700, clear up to 12,000, I'm good to go. No. No, you're not good to go. And you're foolish to think that you are. Alright, so I've got 6 miles to drop 3,300 feet here, so I definitely want to be descending pretty quickly. Melville Hall traffic in Willow 264 is inbound the RNAV 27 approach. We are at Adver on about a 5-mile right base for runway 27, Melville Hall. Think about calling out your position. When you are IFR going into a field that might have VFR traffic, you can tell them what waypoint you're at and all this nonsense. They might, there's a decent chance they're not going to know, you know, what on earth you're talking about. Alright. Speaking of not knowing what you're talking about, it's time to fly an instrument approach. Okay, needles should come in. I should be pretty close. And I think I'll take the tailwind. I'm going to take the tailwind and land 27 anyway. Because you look over there, those hills are obscured for sure. Your right hand turn to heading at 265. Leaving it by half mile is probably a good plan. The GPS agrees with me. Melville Hall traffic in Willow 264 and about an 8-mile final runway 27 Melville Hall. I should have let it by a mile. See, now you've got to get your altitude and your... Right now what I'm trying to do is slow the airplane down a little bit, come back around, get it on be mixture's rich here. Get it back on the line here. Get my needles centered. Don't want to be anything less than 1,700 feet. Props are, mixtures rather, are full forward. Get that speed up a little bit because it got a little bit low. Comfortable with 80 knots. Yeah, see, the visual approach to runway 9 here is to come up over here and down. That's obviously not happening. Okay. Going mixtures and props forward. Melville Hall traffic, Anguilla 264 is on a 3-mile final runway 27 Melville Hall. Mixtures and props full forward, a few pumps are on. Don't feel like I'm getting much of a glide slope indication here. I'm talking from this instrument right there. I'm gonna go second notch of flaps and really shove this nose down because I've got a tailwind. Got a tailwind, so these flaps are going to help me slow down. And I'm going to let that airspeed get back to about 70. Okay, pretty happy with that. Melville Hall traffic, Anguilla 264, 2-mile final runway 27 Melville Hall. Pretty much on glide slope. Definitely left crosswind. Speed 75. No. Melville Hall traffic with a 264 short final 27 Melville Hall. definitely iffy. That was definitely iffy right there. Basically pancaked it on. But, kind of tricky with the tailwind. Sheet and see what this is. Alright, mixture's leading for taxi. Melville Hall traffic and with a 264s clear the runway on Alpha Melville Hall. Let's put the flaps up. Let's turn the fuel pumps off. Mixture's leading for taxi. Landing light off. Let's turn the pitot heat off. The landing was, shall we say, abrupt. But overall, I was pretty happy with that flight, simply because there was kind of a lot to think through in terms of the weather and what was likely. If I had just taken the METAR at face value and tried to fly the runway 9er approach because of the wind, I could have really had a bad day. And so I'm pleased with the way I thought through the flight. Alright, flaps are up. Let's go mixtures to idle cutoff. Throttles are idle. Let's set the parking brake. Lights off. Avionics masters off. Fuel pumps are off. Magnetos off. Avionics, master and battery switches off. So if I had just taken the METAR at face value and tried to fly this the way you'd want to for the wind, I could have wound up in a bad place. But I mean, I thought through the weather well. I think I planned it well. I think I executed it pretty well. I got a little low on energy there at the end, which is why the landing was the way it was. And it's a little bit of an uphill runway. So, you know, even with the nose wheel, even with the nose pulled up, you know, you're kind of landing flat to the ground. So, but you know what? Islanders have survived worse landings than that, and this one will survive more worse landings at my hands. That's for sure. So I wanted to show you the cool approach down here, but that isn't what the weather let us do today. So cool flight though. I thought it was pretty fun. It would be even more fun if we had a little bit more advanced avionics. I mean, maybe I should have tried the Avidyne. Maybe that would have been a good plan. So, but anyway, it was a cool flight and a successful flight, and that's all you can ask for. So, hope you guys are doing well.